Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Wedding Frame. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lisette. I'm a wedding photographer, a mentor, and someone who said yes to far too many things early on because I thought that was just how you start. I want to be honest with you today. This episode is about decisions that affect your time, energy, confidence, and career trajectory. Not everyone starts from the same place. Pretending otherwise doesn't help anyone. The goal here is simple. I want to help you make choices that move you forward without burning yourself out. Saying yes isn't the problem. Basically, saying yes without thinking it through is what the problem is. If you've ever asked yourself, wait, is this actually a good opportunity or am I being taken advantage of? You're in the right place. We're going to break this down into segments and we're going to talk about exposure, when low paying work is actually worth it, the emotional cost of always saying yes, red flags, green flags, and how to say no confidently. And we'll talk about seasonality and worth. By the end of this episode, you'll have tools to evaluate every opportunity that comes your way. You'll know how to protect your time, energy, and confidence. You'll understand when saying yes is an investment and when it's a cost. So let's start off by talking about exposure. You've all heard it. Do this for exposure. It's okay. Exposure can be exciting. It sounds like opportunity, that's for sure. It sounds like someone's opening a door for you, but opportunity without details, that's just hope. Exposure isn't a payment. Exposure is a marketing strategy. And marketing strategies need specifics. If someone can't tell you who will see your work, where it will be shared, how often it will be shared, how you'll be credited, then exposure isn't really a plan. It's a vague promise. Research shows this is a real issue in creative industries. Surveys in the arts sector found that a huge share of internships in the creative world are unpaid. Some reports say as many as 86% of creative positions pay nothing. The assumption is that it gives you a foot in the door. But data shows that unpaid roles rarely lead to better opportunities or higher pay later. They also tend to lock out people who can't afford to work for free. In photography, this is actually pretty common. You get asked to work for exposure all the time. Some say yes because it feels like a chance to be seen, but most of the time, the exposure never materializes the way you hoped. I mean, I don't know if I should say most of the time, but definitely sometimes. Exposure for sure doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't replace mentorship, and it doesn't teach you how to handle a chaotic wedding day. Exposure can be useful, but only when it's clear, intentional, and measurable. Ask yourself, am I learning something real? Am I building relationships that matter? Or is this just busy work? If it's the latter, the answer is no. So let's evaluate exposure opportunities. Some photographers accept exposure thinking it leads to bookings. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Research shows people overvalue potential benefits. A European study of creative workers found that unpaid work was expected to lead to paid opportunities. In reality, fewer than 10% of respondents reported that unpaid gigs significantly advanced their careers. Most of the exposure was online or word of mouth, often invisible to hiring decision makers. In photography, it's the same. Being seen on a blog or on Instagram doesn't automatically convert to paying clients. The real benefit comes from intentional exposure, the right audience, a credible platform, and clear credit. So before saying yes, ask, who benefits most from this? If it's not me, is there a reason to proceed? You can actually quantify exposure. You should ask, how many followers or readers will see my work? Who exactly are they? Will this exposure reach people who could hire me? Will I get clear credit and tagged? Can I use this work in my portfolio later? If the numbers aren't compelling or the benefit is vague, it's probably not worth it. Here is when free or low paying work actually makes sense. Not all of it is bad. Some opportunities are incredibly valuable. The difference is intention. So let's break it down. First, second shooting. It's definitely not a step backwards. It's something that you shouldn't feel weird about. I mean, especially if you're first starting out. I've said it more than once. Second shooting is such a great idea. It teaches you things that no class ever could. It's basically education that you're being paid for, or like, on the job training. When you second shoot, you get to see how a wedding day actually unfolds. You learn to adapt when the timeline changes, and you get to watch the lead photographer manage stress, direct, all of that. And you figure out where you should be standing without being told. Something as simple as that. It's all the little things accumulated, really, that get you that very valuable education during your hands-on training while second shooting. So I looked this up, and some studies show that hands-on experience accelerates skill development more than classroom learning. Students may feel like they're learning more in a lecture, but no, measured outcomes show that actually doing tasks builds skill faster. Second shooting for sure builds instincts, and it teaches timing, lighting, composition under pressure, client interaction, problem solving on the fly, and of course, it builds confidence. You're learning in real conditions. I mean, it's basically the fastest way to grow. And then you can pick the opportunities intentionally. So a great idea would be to choose someone who you admire, someone whose business processes you want to study. Not all free or low paying work is this valuable, but when it is, it's for sure worth it. Beyond second shooting, mentorship is a major reason to consider a low paying or unpaid job or opportunity. Mentorship accelerates learning. It exposes you to techniques, client handling, and business decisions you wouldn't encounter alone. And again, studies show measurable results. Individuals with mentors report higher confidence, faster skill growth, and more professional opportunities. They also experience lower burnout because someone guides them through the decision making and protects them from common pitfalls. In photography, this could look like assisting, second shooting, or shadowing someone for a day, or the traditional mentorship where you do a call, a Zoom, whatever, for about an hour, and you can have multiple sessions of that where you get to ask questions and just learn from how this photographer does it. So in this case, we're not really talking about work that isn't paid, but instead it's something that you may actually be paying for when it comes to like a mentorship session. But mentorship can also be part of your second shooting experience, in which case you are getting paid. Of course, we're talking about low pay, and that means that it's not equivalent to having your own wedding. And I think that's why some people um, prefer the shortcut of booking their own weddings without much second shooting, but it is so, so valuable. And you really want to come to your own wedding prepared. So I feel like I'm going a little off topic. So let's get back to what we were talking. So it's a calculated risk to accept free or work that pays little. It should definitely be something where you ask yourself, am I learning something from this? Am I gaining exposure that could lead to work that pays? Will this connection benefit me long term? And if the answer is yes, then it should be worth it. There are some gray areas. Sometimes the line isn't clear. A client might offer partial payment or ask for a discount, or a collaboration might be promising but uncertain. In these cases, evaluate. Can I set boundaries? Can I negotiate credit? Can I define what I will deliver and what I won't? Being intentional is key, always. Let's talk about the emotional side. Saying yes to everything is exhausting. It makes you resentful sometimes. It makes you doubt yourself. I've seen talented photographers walk into weddings already feeling behind. Why? It's because they weren't being paid fairly. It's the stress shows up in your work, in your posture, in how you communicate. Early in my career, I overperformed constantly. I thought I had to prove that I belonged. That pressure did not make my work better. It made me anxious. And burnout doesn't come necessarily just from being busy. It can also come from putting in the effort without feeling valued. The Journal of Occupational Health Psychology explains that burnout often comes from effort reward imbalance, not just the workload. People putting in lots of effort without recognition or compensation have a higher risk for stress and burnout, even when the work isn't technically harder. Saying yes too often, underselling yourself, or working unpaid while others benefit drains your energy and your confidence. So the lesson is your time and energy are finite. Protect them. Managing your energy is also about knowing your limits and protecting your creative space. You might think you're invincible early in your career. I sure did. I thought I could handle every late night edit, every wedding, every second shooting opportunity. But your brain and body notice. Your creativity suffers first, your patience next, and finally, your confidence. One way to measure this is through reflective journaling. Just keep a simple log. How did this opportunity make me feel? Did I feel energized or drained? Did I feel valued or not? Did it help me grow? Would I do it again? Studies also show that this kind of self-reflection reduces burnout and increases job satisfaction. Every 5 minutes of structured reflection per day has measurable benefits for mental health and performance. All right, next we're going to talk about red flags and green flags. Let's start with the red flags. You've probably seen them. Vague promises, no contract, pressure to decide fast, being told this will be great for your portfolio without specifics. Or in the case of many of us, influencers who tell you how many followers they have and how much that will benefit you. Working for free while others benefit financially is definitely a red flag. I mean, all of these things are warning signs. Your time and skill have value. Respect that. Green flags look obviously different. They look like clear expectations, written agreements, honest budgets, respectful communication, opportunities with long-term potential, and even a small green flag counts. A client or collaborator who respects your boundaries is worth more than a free gig that drains your energy. So how do we evaluate these opportunities? Here's a simple framework that I use. So the learning value. What skills or knowledge will I gain? The exposure value. Who will see my work and will it actually matter for bookings? The networking value. Are there connections here that could lead to future opportunities? Energy cost. Will this leave me drained or inspired? Financial cost. Am I being paid fairly or am I taking a financial hit that I can't sustain? Just answer yourself honestly. Opportunities that score high on learning, exposure, and networking may be worth some compromise. Opportunities that drain your energy, give you anxiety, don't advance your goals, say no. How to say no. Now, that's the next thing. Saying no doesn't make you rude, and coming from a forever people pleaser that I can't even say I'm a reformed people pleaser. I still am. But I have learned that, yeah, saying no doesn't mean that you are a difficult person. It just makes you clear with your boundaries. And here are some examples that you can say. So one would be, thank you for thinking of me. Right now, I'm focusing on paid work, but I appreciate the opportunity. And I actually had to say that a couple months ago. I did work with a linen provider, and I was so happy to say yes to that opportunity because I loved um, the relationship that I had established with this vendor. And then I was asked like a month or two later to photograph the showroom once again, but I had to say no, that I wasn't taking that I wasn't taking unpaid work at the moment because I was so busy. So even though it would have been something quick and easy, and I was happy to do it before, I really had to say no. And her response was amazing. She understood. And, I think I saved myself some anxiety and burnout for sure. Saying no doesn't require justification or an apology. If you say it kindly, it signals professionalism. The Harvard Business Review shows that clarity and directness are often interpreted as competence. Communicating boundaries will actually increase your perceived professionalism. Okay, so let's talk about your worth and your season. So your worth doesn't change, but your season can. There are times when saying yes is right. There are times when saying no is right. Career development research calls this career capital. Early in your career, you're building your skills, relationships, and reputation that compound over time. A strategic yes today is an investment. A strategic no today protects your energy for long term growth. Both matter and both are valid. I've had seasons where I said yes to almost everything. I learned faster than I imagined, but I also burned out quickly. Other seasons, I had to say no, just like I mentioned earlier. As you grow as a photographer, you learn which opportunities will benefit you the most. Think of your career in seasons. You have your learning season, which is focusing on gaining skills, second shooting, mentorships, and selective unpaid work. Your building season, that is when you focus on your paid work, portfolio refinement, and strategic exposure. And then you have your scaling season, which is focusing on high paying clients, expanding your business, and refining your brand. Not every season is for taking every opportunity. Your job is to recognize what season you're in and make choices that fit. Now, there is hidden value in some non paid opportunities. Sometimes that value isn't obvious. Not all unpaid work is a loss. So consider this: collaborations with other creatives that could expand your network. This is why I have said yes to certain vendors for doing, taking pictures of their work or new branding photos. It's strategic, it's continuing the relationship, or when starting a new one, that is a great way for them to see my work firsthand while I'm shooting them or their product or details. And also when I deliver the photos, they get to see exactly what my style is. And that is very valuable. So yes, so collaborations with fellow vendors. And then styled shoots. I haven't mentioned that yet. They can teach you lighting, posing, and storytelling. And you also get to see how other photographers do things. So even if you don't get paid directly, these opportunities can teach you something measurable. They can also lead to referrals, paid work, and credibility. For example, early in my career, I think in my first year or two, I did a style shoot at a certain local venue. And then I posted it, I put it on my website. I never ever say that it was a real wedding. I don't agree with that at all. I think it's being dishonest, but I did have a potential couple see that I had shot at this venue and they booked me. So for sure, style shoots can also be a valuable way of growing. So a good way of evaluating hidden value is asking yourself, Will this opportunity teach me something or connect me to the right people? Another big factor photographers in their early years deal with is peer pressure. Everyone else is doing it. You'll hear this. Friends, peers, Instagram influencers often glorify saying yes to everything, but what works for someone else might not work for you. Your experiences and your finances are unique, right? You have to weigh the costs and the benefits. Social comparison in creative industries can actually lead to burnout and lower self confidence. And even seeing peers overcommit online can trigger a little bit of anxiety and FOMO. Awareness of this can help you make choices based on your goals and not peer pressure. Just focus on your path. Intentional yeses build long term momentum. Mindless yeses build short term stress. One tool I use is reflection. After every shoot, I ask, what did I learn today? What went well? What would I do differently? Did this align with my goals? I also track metrics, client satisfaction, referral opportunities, social reach, portfolio growth, and over time, the patterns emerge. You start seeing what types of opportunities actually move you forward. And then, of course, you'll see which ones weren't worth it. Tracking progress and reflecting on tasks for sure improves skill acquisition, your confidence, and your career satisfaction. Here are practical tips for evaluating opportunities. Create a checklist. Put learning, exposure, networking, financials, and then set your boundaries in advance. Decide your max unpaid work per month. Ask questions up front. Who, where, how, and why? And reflect regularly. Track growth and trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Let's think about long-term strategy now. Think about the long-term trajectory. Early yeses are okay if they teach something valuable. Low paid work is okay if it connects you to mentors or long-term clients. Saying no is okay if it preserves energy for meaningful work. Your career isn't built overnight. It's built one intentional yes at a time. If this episode helped you, send it to a photographer friend who is in their yes to everything phase. If you want more conversations like this, more honesty, more mentorship without gatekeeping, subscribe to The Wedding Frame. Remember, say yes intentionally, protect your boundaries, and grow with purpose. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.